What's up guys, Jeff Cavalier, ATHLEAN-X.com. Today I want to show you how to fix rounded shoulders in just 4 steps. As you can see, Jesse, we fixed Jesse. We did fix Jesse. There we go. Jesse actually, I'm making fun of him here, but Jesse actually had terribly rounded shoulders, and you can see that in the before and after photo right here. This was Jesse just months before we started to train him, and I know a lot of you that watch this channel have watched him physically transform in terms of the muscle he's gained, but there's been more to that. More importantly, it's sort of been focusing on the framework first. I don't believe in building a house off of a crappy foundation. You don't want to do the same thing when you're training. So at the same time, we've been really working on his posture. I'm going to show you how exactly he did this so that you can do the same thing. There are 4 parts to fixing your posture, but maybe you're not even quite sure exactly if you have it yet. And there's a quick way to do this, okay? Just stand up real quick and put your arms to your side. And without doing anything, I want you to just look down at the position of your thumbs. I wasn't trying to set you up at all, but I want you to look at the position of your thumbs. Jesse's thumbs right here, if you were to just stick them out, just extend your thumbs, his are actually kind of in this direction. At least they're pointing in this direction towards you. But a lot of you might find that your thumbs are pointing straight at each other. Because when they're standing in front like this, your arms are actually pointed here because your shoulders are too rounded. Now, of course, you can look in the mirror, too, and have validation of that. But the 4 things that you're going to need to do is, number 1, you're going to have to work on a joint. Number 2, you're going to have to work on muscles in terms of the ones that are too weak and you need to strengthen. Muscles that are tight, you're going to need to stretch. And then we're going to have to work on habits, too. All right? So let's get started right away with the joint itself. Okay, so now we talked about joint, and you're thinking probably what? The shoulder's messed up. If it's rounded, it's got to be the shoulder. But ironically, it's not. The joint that you're going to really want to focus on the most is your back, and more specifically, your mid-back, the thoracic spine, because what happens is this gets really, really adaptively tight on most of us, and when it does, and it starts to round out, what does it do? It takes everything with it, not just the head, but the shoulders come with it. But if we can get an extension through the thoracic spine, everything kind of goes back quickly. It's a lot faster way to fix it. Now, if you are an athlete, which a lot of our viewers are, you can get a tight posterior shoulder capsule, and if that's the case, you can do the sleeper stretch that I'm showing you right here, and that will help to actually attack the shoulder itself that might be making the head of the humerus here kind of skirt forward and be rounded. But in the most cases, that's not necessarily going to be your biggest thing. It's more going to be this mid-back. So what we can do here, I'm trying to keep this really simple so you don't have to have a lot of equipment, is you can get down on the floor and do what we think is one of the most effective stretches that you can do and mobilizations here for the mid-thoracic spine, and that is what Jesse's doing here. He simply puts his arms up over his head at about a 45-degree angle, and as he rotates back, he just tries to rotate and keep himself and his chest wide open. And what we're getting here is we're getting elevation of the arms overhead, but at the same time, we're getting this extension through the thoracic spine. So it's opening him up. And it's really easy. All he has to do is work on going to the left and to the right side. You do this just a few times each day, or at least 3 or 4 times a week, and you will start to see a huge difference. That was one of the main things he did to start opening this area up. If you want to start using equipment, you feel free to use a foam roller, put it across the thoracic spine, and work on trying to mobilize through that area. But again, I don't even think it's really that necessary. I think if you were a little bit more consistent with this, you'd have a lot better effect from doing that. All right, so now if we're going to talk about muscles, we got to see the muscles, right? And I talked about Jesse actually making a transformation, but what we're most concerned about here is we got to decide what is tight and what is weak. And if you turn Jesse here to the side and you get in this position here, you can see that we have a series of muscles that are going to get tight and we have a series of muscles that are going to get weak. It's called an upper cross syndrome because of the way that they sort of cross each other. So as we get into this sort of dysfunction here, you get tightness in here through the chest. You get tightness in here through these muscles in the upper back here, okay, the levator and the traps. And then at the same time, because all this stuff gets stretched out, we get weakness through a lot of the muscles of the scapula. We get weakness of the muscles inside the scapula. We get weakness and tightness of the muscles inside the neck as well. So what we want to do is we want to correct this. So let's start with the stretching. With the stretching, the 2 that I'm most concerned about, because he's got all this internal rotation here of his arms, is the subscapularis, which is one of the 4 rotator cuff muscles, but it's the only one that internally rotates as opposed to externally rotates. And then the other thing we get is the pec minor. So the pec minor is actually a really interesting one because it sort of comes in from right inside here, and it comes down and it connects to the ribs. Now, what that would do, you can see if this got tight and I were to pull this down, it's going to pull the shoulder forward around this way. It's going to pull it down, and it's going to tilt it this way. It's going to bring it from here to here, okay? So all this stuff is obviously horrible if you have a problem with your rounded shoulders. So we can actually address both of those. So let's go to the subscapularis first. What Jesse would do if he's going to stretch that out is we know, again, it's an internal rotator of the shoulder. So we got to get into external rotation. So that means he's got to take his arm, get it out into external rotation as much as he can, okay? So reaching back this way. After he gets in that position, he's going to hook his arm up against something, the edge of a doorway. It's fine. All you're going to need to do all this stuff I'm going to show you is a band and a doorway. Get into this thing here. I'm going to show you from below here. You're striding out. Once it's hooked in here, you're just going to rotate your chest that way, over there, and try to keep reaching back here, like that. So Jesse, come on in. So he gets up into position here, external rotation. It should look like he's getting ready to throw a baseball as a pitcher. He strides out. He's in here, he's externally rotated, and now he starts to rotate all this that way. And you can feel all that right inside the armpit, right? Yeah. And that's the thing, you just want to hold that for about 30 seconds at a time. And again, do it a few times a week. It's going to really help to loosen it up. Now for the pec minor here. What he would do is he'd get himself into position here. He'd want to now do the opposite of those three things I just told you. If it's tilting it forward this way, he can use the edge of the doorway to actually keep it pushed back. Okay, so he's taking the door, pushing it into this to actually hold it back. Once he's there, the next thing is he can pinch his shoulder blades together to get that activated. And we'll show you again here what it looks like more in depth. And then as he gets there, now the last thing he needs to do, if it's trying to tilt him down this way, well, he can get it to go up by raising the arm up. So with that stretch, he can feel the pec minor being stretched right there. And you can see here on the muscle marker, you can see as he does it, how this gets stretched and elongated just by going through these three positions. So we actually hit the two biggest problem areas, the subscapularis and then here with the doorway, and we've got a big dent into correcting those tightnesses that are causing this problem. Now we got to attack the strengthening side of it. Okay, so now we got to get through the muscles. And the muscles we have are, again, they're weak. So if we strengthen them, we're going to help to get this stuff back. And we talked about if the internal rotators are tight, that means likely the external rotators are weak. So if we can get the rotator cuff to work, we'd be doing a good thing. If we can get the rhomboids, the muscles that pinch the shoulder blades together, we'd be doing a good thing. We're getting the shoulders back. If we can get the lower traps to work, that pull the shoulder blades back and set them down nice and tall, then that would be doing a good thing too. And if we could also get the serratus anterior, which is a muscle that's relied upon for stability of the shoulder blade too, to get it nice and back, then we can do that too. We need to incorporate all these things into one exercise or at least two exercises because I want to try to keep it simple. So we use a band. So remember, just a wall and a band is all that's needed. The first one that we do is you take the band. It's a variation of a pull-apart. A pull-apart alone is not enough. If we do a regular pull-apart, what we want to do here now is make it better. So as we go to open the band up, what we're going to do is we're going to also try to externally rotate. So as he comes and pulls the band apart, he keeps trying to turn his thumbs back. So they're coming back in this direction here. So he doesn't just keep them here and point it up to the ceiling and just keep going back like this. He wants to go back and at the same time rotate the hands out. Right? Okay, perfect. Now do a couple of them. Now on the way back, he comes in nice and slow. And go back again. He's making sure not to feed into the problem even more because I told you that these muscles get tight, so show them what would look wrong. If you shrug this, if you shrug it up as you go, which a lot of people do, you're literally defeating the purpose of what you're trying to do. So you got to keep these down, and then you go back, externally rotate the thumbs all the way back behind you, squeezing as hard as you can here. And again, he's keeping this down. He reaches back, he's squeezing in through here, externally rotating the thumbs, are basically pointing back towards you at the top, at the back there. Good. One more. Pull back. Right there. Good. Now what we're looking for here, and your rep scheme should always be, that's good just for that one, your rep scheme should always be 20 sets of 1 rather than 1 set of 20. Because quality, quality, quality. The problem is your muscles, they're there, they're just not firing right. So if we can get them to fire right, we're much better off. Now the last one we want to do is we want to work on the serratus. We want to work on the lower trap, so we've got to get the arms up over our head, and we can do it with the band. So here, now you can turn to the side a little bit. For here, what you're going to do is you're going to protract your arms out. So once you get in this tall position, get as nice as tall as you can from here. Now, once you're here, you just reach your arm, right, you reach your arms out just a little bit, still keeping this nice and tall, just to get your arms protracted without rounding the back, because we don't want to do that. So we're here, protract. Now, maintaining that protraction there. He's going to turn the arms out again into external rotation just until he has good tension on the band. And now from here, he's just going to raise it up overhead. Just like that. And down and reset everything. So here, tight, a little protraction, externally rotate, screw it out, raise the arms up, and come down. Quality reps here every single time is going to be the key for correcting this and getting these muscles to be fixed. All right, guys, so lastly, we got to talk about the habits, because remember, you didn't get this way in one day. I'm sure as a kid, you didn't walk around like this all the time. You probably walked around in good posture. You just did things to yourself over the years that put you in that position. So I'm going to give you one thing, because I know it's really hard to overcome this, and you need some sort of feedback. One thing for standing, because we're going to spend half the day standing, and one thing for sitting down. When you sit down, all you have to do is take a tennis ball and put it behind your shoulder blades right here, right there, up against the back of the chair. And what you're going to find is the second that you start to fall into that rounded shoulder posture, the tennis ball is going to drop behind you in the chair. So it's instant feedback that you did something wrong. So when you sit upright and you put the tennis ball back there, it's going to force you to be in a better position. Okay? The next thing, when you're walking around, I always say one thing. Where is your sternum? Right? We know the sternum's right here, right there. Okay? But where's the top of it? If the top of it is angling down, then you're in for some trouble. Because if it's going down, everything's coming with it. So what you want to do is you want to try to lift your sternum. Pretend that the top of your sternum, right here, at the top of your chest bone, that it's a glass of water. And if you're letting it tilt and fall out, then you're in a bad position. So always keep your sternum full throughout the day. Keep your sternum up. And you can check that throughout the day just by trying to consciously say, where am I? And you'll instantly know if it's down, you're tilting out water. If it's up, the cup is level, you're in a good spot. Yeah. The last thing, it makes sort of obvious sense, but if you spend a lot of time behind your desk, you're going to have to get up a few times during the day. Just sort of break it up every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes. Just stand up for a little bit. It just gives you a break in this positioning here, and it gives you the reminder that as you get up, you should be doing something else too, which is either checking your sternum or remembering to go get that damn tennis ball and put it behind your back if you forgot to at this point. But the fact is, habits will take some time to break, but if you're doing these other things I showed you here, and again, the whole thing doesn't take that much time. It's only going to take you about 5 minutes to do a couple exercises, a couple stretches, and a little bit of that mobility work. It's just the consistency of doing it that's going to pay off in the long run. And I guarantee you, you're going to be able to fix this. I thought this guy was a lost cause. He proved to be otherwise. You can do the same thing. And again, if you're lifting, you want to build off of a solid foundation. If you're trying to lift off of this kind of foundation, not only is it a bad idea, but you literally physically cannot get your arm up over your head as high if you're lifting from here because of the block that comes from having rounded shoulders. So you're not even going to be as productive with your lifts. So fix the foundation first and everything else will fall into place. If you're looking for a program that kind of puts it all in place, because a physical therapist, I care about all these things, it all matters. All of my workout programs contain all the building blocks that you need to put yourself in the best position to not just look your best, but function your best. Those are over at ATHLEAN-X.com. In the meantime, if you found this video helpful, leave your comments and thumbs up below. Make sure you share it with somebody else. We all know somebody that's got rounded shoulders. Make sure you send it to somebody and help them fix this problem once and for all. All right, guys, see you soon.